Welcome to the Mindful Healers Podcast with
Dr. Jessie Mahoney
and Dr. Ni-Cheng Liang.
We are here to help you learn to pause and be present, awaken your breath, and harness the ripple effects of mindfulness for radiant health.
We get you. We know you. We are you.
We have both been successful on the surface, yet struggling underneath. We have both had cluttered brains, been overwhelmed, and exhausted.
We're healers who have found solutions and want to share them with you.
Join us here to discover a better way.
Welcome to the Mindful Healers Podcast. Today is going to be a special episode with a guest talking about retreats, a potent medicine and a recipe for joy. Reminder, nothing here is medical advice. And today we are going to have a conversation and a moment to honor Liz, who is the first person to come on all three of my retreats. And we wanted to talk about the
overachiever.
High achiever. I love it. The value of retreats. The intention of today's episode is to dispel the myth that it's indulgent to take time away for a retreat, to discover why showing up is responsible, fun, and a recipe for joy, and also a recipe for health, learning, growth, connection, and all the things. And takeaways will be the value of in-person connection. Different retreats can bring different wisdom, different insights, and different joy. So with that, Liz, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are and anything you would like to share before we dive in.
Hi, Jessie. I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me on your podcast. I have admired your work and obviously I'm a huge fan. And I just am so grateful to be here. I was talking about you at the time that we got the notice that you had invited me to the podcast, and Winnie, our mutual friend, had just said, I would love to treat you to one of Jessie's retreats, because she and I had been working together on something. And I'm like, if you need to do that, that would be awesome. But the funny thing is that your invitation came just at that moment. And it's always terrifying being on a podcast, and I'm like, okay, this is my chance to be courageous and tell my story and how much I've enjoyed and benefited from what you've given me. And yeah, so thank you.
And I just have to say, because we record these podcasts where we can see the other person, that the whole time that Liz is talking, she has her hand to heart, which is something that I teach in yoga for those of you that join me, but that we also practice extensively at retreats. And so it's a visualization of the learning and the embodiment of the work. And that's super fun.
Yes, it is definitely one of the wonderful things that I've taken away from your retreats, Jessie. And I use it every day. But like you were saying, connecting with people is magical at a different level than, just doing your wonderful yoga alone. I had some mental drama about, giving myself the gift of going to your first retreat, which was the Pie Ranch retreat. I was so glad I went. We were lucky to have a spectacularly beautiful day. I connected with some amazing people. Oh my God, the food was amazing. Okay, let me just say the food was amazing. I ordered some more of those empanadas when I was in Santa Cruz a couple of weeks ago. And the experience was something that I highly recommend. And in fact, I love promoting your work on my Facebook group, Mindsurfer MD, because my interest, my passion is to normalize conversations about mental health and provide resources for people who are suffering, because I myself have had the experience of having deep depressions, and other times when I'm very highly functional, and I could do this interview, but I'm always looking for tools that can be shared with other people. And I have definitely found that what you offer is deep and rich, and they're tools that I carry with me every day. And one of them is the beautiful hand to heart. And also, I just want to say that some of the things are the things that I learned from the other people at the retreat. And I have to say that I got introduced to the world of coaching, during COVID, and one of the coaches that I had in another program was at the Connect in Nature retreat. And that's in the magnificent, we do yoga in your woods, and we are on this amazing retreat center, the Green Gulch Zen Retreat Center. And she said to me as we were walking down to the garden to do a meditation, when I was traveling with my kids, I love to take pictures, and I'm the same way. I want to remember everything. And my son said to me, Mom, if you're always taking pictures so that you can remember the past in the future, you're never in the present. And that was one of these lessons that I was like, oh my God, right? That's what life is about, is being where we are here right now. And so my point is, like, some of the magical takeaways that I have kept are things that I've even gotten from the other people who are at the retreat. So it's like exponentially more beneficial to be with other people, because you do get to integrate and share and teach one another.
I think that's really a beautiful thing. And as I think about the retreats that I offer through Pause and Presence, I think they appeal to a certain subset of people. They're not for everyone, right? They're for people who tend to be on the more mindful side. You have to enjoy nature because you're going to be in it and
Yes.
on it. And so I do think that creates sort of a special collection of people who have, I mean, definitely not at all the same. I think it's quite a diverse group of people, but have a similar bent about how they want to live life and experience life and share it with others. And so it doesn't surprise me at all. And I think that's actually, as I reflect to one of our recent podcast episodes is on making friends. And I'm thinking that that's one of the really cool things about these retreats is, when they're quite small. So you have a collection of people who are like-minded. And so there's sort of a natural bringing together of people who might be friends or who have, similar interests and approaches to life. And that's super cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Tell me a bit about practicing yoga in person, because I'm of course biased, but I no longer teach in a studio because my studio closed. So I do most of my yoga online, which most of you know. But one of the reasons that I love doing retreats is because we get to go back in a room and practice together, or practice outside, but still together. And so share a little bit about what that experience was like for you.
Yes, and obviously since COVID, the yoga community that I'd enjoyed for over 10 years, disappeared overnight. And I like to say that was like my church. Those were my people. We sang together, we connected together, we laughed together. There's just this beautiful energy of being in a community. And obviously with COVID, we lost that. And that, I think, was also one of the motivations to sign up, because this was going to be my first time doing yoga with other people, with a community. I have a friend, we do yoga together sometime, and but this would be just a different level to be with a whole group. And I think that energy is infectious, and
it had that sort of church-like energy, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I think for everyone there, because we don't practice that often together in person anymore. So both at Pie Ranch, I remember you and Gail, who's my co-facilitator. I think both of you were crying during the meditation part when we were
probably
all in the same room together.
I cry a lot.
It just felt so different to be connecting, not just over Zoom, but in the actual beautiful space in nature together in a room. And that felt really amazing. And then I'm thinking, of course, practicing yoga in your woods was a little bit like church also, just saying.
Exactly. And I really wanted to emphasize how magical that was. And that's something that I love sharing with people that the key to going to Muir Woods is to go there before opening at Sunday morning, and you just walk straight to the back, and then you have this beautiful, magnificent cathedral of nature
And
to
I will
yourself.
say, actually, on that retreat was the first time I've ever practiced yoga in Muir Woods, and I'm absolutely doing it again. And we're offering the same retreat this year, and we will be doing yoga. Now I know all the spots to do it, but it was just a life experience that I really never anticipated. I mean, in experiencing it in that way, it was just
yeah. And doing tree pose with the trees. I know. I just loved the way you talked about the root. The roots, that the roots of the redwoods are relatively shallow because they're all about connecting with the other trees. And there's so many beautiful metaphors that just really and doing the poses, like all that joy and good stuff. It's just like
what I'm remembering
in your body.
Remembering about it is drinking the fog too. It was just that like physical embodiment of drinking the fog. This is bringing back all these amazing memories. How fun.
Yes. Oh, that's in my memory book too. Like, yes, drink the fog, listen to chocolate.
Yeah.
That was like another
and listen to
another
chocolate.
beautiful, like, just.
Do you want to tell about that experience, the listening
Sure.
experience?
Yeah. So I the Connect in Nature retreat in Your Woods was also with your partner, and and she's just a magnificent person, and has that training in integrative medicine and mindfulness. And she had us do some terrific, just some exercises that were so liberating for me. Like, one was doing enzos with our non-dominant hand. And we stayed in this really cool bed and breakfast, not an Airbnb, but a really cool bed and breakfast called the Pelican Inn. And they have a dartboard. It's like being back in Elizabethan 16th century, England. I mean, it's just to the T. I stayed in the Elizabethan room. Okay, my name is Elizabeth. I was like, okay, this is meant to be. But they have a dartboard. And so I would throw the darts with my non-dominant hand, and I would do better, right? Because I'm not thinking so hard about it. And it's so much fun. The idea of using the non-dominant hand, that's what I got from some of the mindfulness exercises.
And she also talks about coloring outside the lines. I actually just asked her this week to do a whole podcast on that principle and to share it. So in the future, there's going to be one coming. She promised she would do it. And this idea of coloring outside the lines and doing just doing work with your non-dominant hand and like the way that feels. So we also did a mindful eating exercise. And what was super fun about it was, first of all, that my husband made the chocolate truffles on his own.
Oh my God, your husband is amazing.
Figuring out the precise recipe for that. So that was their first exposure, the chocolate truffles. And rather than doing chocolate bars for mindful eating. So we had these amazing chocolates that my husband had made. And then Ni Chang sort of went through, we had to hold them and not eat them. And she went through the whole descriptions and the whole mindful eating. And we even listened to these homemade chocolates, which was just fun, honestly.
Yes. Like using all the senses, all the senses, it's not
one
just
of the things
seeing
about,
and tasting it. Yeah.
Yeah, about Connect in Nature. I think that was really our intention, was to make mindfulness fun. And so that retreat is really, it's taught or led at a Zen center, and it includes a lot of nature, Muir Woods. It includes being at the beach. It includes being in the garden. It includes being in a yurt. It includes all of those things. But the focus is on mindfulness and yoga and mindful coaching, but less of a focus on coaching in that retreat, I think, than on the mindfulness piece. But our real intent was to bring fun and lightness and play to mindfulness, and to realize that we can really connect and use our environment. And so it was adding this whole other layer. Mindfulness is often seen as a serious thing. And so the intent, which is so fun, because I see you, Liz, as a playful person, you're always playing. And so to be able to do this with lightness and joy was really magical. And I think some people know I'm writing a book on what I do, and there's a whole section in there about mindfulness and play and like a fresh approach, where a lot of the things that came up in the retreat will be in it, with this idea that it doesn't have to be serious. It can be simple, it can be light, and you can access it anywhere, but that nature 100% helps do that. And so I'm reminded of folks, including you, sitting amidst those dahlias, where the dahlias were even taller than the people who were meditating and doing their mindfulness exercise. It reminds me of a Roald Dahl book, honestly, that experience. I don't know. I have this very clear
Jessie,
of it.
It was so magical for me. My favorite creature is a hummingbird. And as I was sitting in this spectacular garden, basically, almost face to face with dahlias that were a little bigger than I was, I heard this. It was this wonderful vibration. I was curious what it was, but I'm like, I'm just going to be present. I'm not going to open my eyes. I'm not going to open my eyes. Well, afterwards, somebody told me, "Did you see that beautiful hummingbird that was right in front of your face?" And I just love hummingbirds. And that was just such a magical moment for me. Like, to think that, my favorite creature was doing his work and eating its flower right in front of me. And, and it's like, listen to chocolate. Like, there's more than just seeing the bird. There's feeling the bird and hearing the bird. And so it was like a whole different experience of.
So what do you think were the key lessons that you took away from that retreat, besides just having an amazing 2 days, which I'm just going to throw in? I know you had an amazing 2 days because you then joined me for another retreat afterwards, and I had an amazing few days. But
yes.
What tools from Connect in Nature did you take with you?
So I have my little notebook.
Love it.
And heart. I think we were talking about that sooner. It was such a beautiful, instant way to reconnect with ourselves and get that oxytocin flowing, and that helps clear our brains, right? Like, when we're under stress, we can't think, and like, if we just stop and put the hand to heart and just stop and listen and breathe and give ourselves that peace in that moment, then we can move forward and
you told me, well, one, I love this idea of it like clearing our brains and so we can see solutions, but you also told me about joy and hand to heart, and will you share that, because it was so beautiful?
For me, joy is feeling it in my heart, and for other people, joy is jumping up and down and being bigger than life, right? And yes, okay, yeah, I have moments like that, but for me, joy is more peace. It's more a centeredness. It's more just being present, and it's sort of a quiet, content joy. And being in nature, it definitely enhances that for me. For me, nature is therapy. Nature is my church. Nature is it's who we are. I do. Yeah. So, and I love the name Connect in Nature. It's like, connect with yourself, connect with what's bigger than ourselves, connect with other people, right?
Yeah.
So there's so many levels to it. And I have to say, the Pelican Inn is so cool. Like, you got to go to the Pelican Inn. It's so cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know Ni Ching was resistant to it, and I was telling her.
And I will say, so we're doing Connect in Nature again this year, and we are going to make it 3 days instead of 2, because we're a little bit longer than we wished. And so this way people have more time to absorb. And what we're going to do for people to stay is, I actually, if you look on the website, I made a collection of the inns. So because there's the Pelican Inn where you can walk to Green Gulch. There is the Mountain Home Inn, which is up on the top of the mountain, and you can actually walk to Muir Woods from there. And then there's the Mill Valley Inn, which is in town. So for those people who want to be in town and walk to restaurants. And the Water's Edge is the other one that's actually in Sausalito and on the water, closer to the optional paddleboarding that we offer the first day. So everyone kind of has a different vibe of where they want to stay and what their experience will be. And it's a bit different than, it's definitely different than the Sagrada retreat, where nobody gets in their cars at all once they get there, essentially, maybe once. And different than, say, Pie Ranch, which is 1 day, because we're all in one place. But, in Connect in Nature, we actually move, right? You go from where you're staying to the yurt, you go out to the beach, you go to Muir Woods, you go to different spots. And having 1 more day, we're actually going to probably have 1 more hike on the bluffs around, it's kind of near Slide Ranch. There's a trail
Okay.
that's fairly flat where you can meditate right at the ocean's edge, for example. So that'll be a little bit different, but that there is that moving around. So it's not a sort of stay in this one place. It's not your typical retreat in that way. But what I wanted to do is add in, like, people can choose there. So I'm a mountaintop person. I will be at the Mountain Home Inn on the mountaintop, right? Because I like you. I always like to be on the top of the mountain. That's one of the reasons I love Sagrada, right? But and I've stayed at Pelican Inn. Pelican Inn is like, you can walk and it has this just funky, like, beautiful, cozy vibe, and it's walkable to Muir Beach and walkable to the Zen Center. And so for some people, that's going to be their vibe. Everyone's going to have their different vibe. So I love this little
so you can pick your priority, pick your
personalize it. And because different people are coming, different people will be at each of the different inns. And I think that's going to be like, I'm smiling. No one can see me smiling, but I'm smiling hand to heart with that thought.
We feel it.
I'm super excited.
Yes. It was so much fun having somebody who was at the inn with me. We were able to commute together up the peninsula. And if anybody flies in, I would love to drive you up.
Yeah.
I'm in the neighborhood. It's easy to pick anybody up.
Lovely. It's all about connecting. And I think people made some long distance, even relationships, is what I understand. There people who met there who are actually going to come to Sagrada together, who hadn't met before, because they want to have the next experience. So why don't you share a little bit about your next experience? Because I know you connect in nature. You joined me again at Sagrada and share what you loved or learned there, whatever.
Yes.
You're inspired.
So I definitely felt that this was such a magical, important, and significant experience for me that I wanted to take advantage of the next offering, which is your 4 or 5 day retreat outside of San Luis Obispo. And okay, I have to say, Mark's food is amazing. Okay, yes, I like to eat. I like food. It's one of the great joys of being a human and still alive. We get to enjoy food, and it is so good and healthy. And the setting is serene, and just I was able to hike around in the morning and connect in nature in my own way. Also, our sunset hikes.
We had a bear, right?
That's right. I've never seen a bear in the wild.
Right.
That's right. Yeah. And we saw a tarantula. We saw a tarantula too.
Along with deers and hummingbirds and all the other things.
Yes.
But,
yes.
That's the only time, I will say for anyone listening, I've ever seen a bear, although apparently there are bears around. It's very safe, but it was behind a fence and pretty delightful to actually see them in the wild. I have only ever seen them up in way north in British Columbia, a grizzly bear area. So that was pretty, and once on the Rogue River. So it was pretty special to see one.
And I love yoga. And so there was more yoga in that retreat. And we were able to do some yoga outside by the pool, being able to just, feel the breeze and see the view while doing the yoga with other beautiful souls was wonderful. One of my favorite memories is the food, though. I have to give credit to your husband.
Fair enough.
Like, you should do this full-time professionally. He's like, well, my wife has to give me permission or something like that. It was very funny.
He's still working. He loves doing the cooking. And I will say that's actually intentional. So I call it that one, the Nourish and Transform retreat, because when you nourish yourself fully, and not just with food, but with food, nature, cozy beds, beautiful scenery, beautiful humans, and movement and breeze and all of that, that's where you can do the coaching work without any willpower. It literally seeps into all of the nooks and crannies, and also nourishing yourself with mindfulness, I should add. And so that's sort of the intent of it. And so having this food that is all part of that nourishing experience. And it's not just the food that you eat, right? It's the way you look at it and the way it's served. Like, we sit at this beautiful table and we all eat together, and there's, breezes, and it's just this very loving environment. And so I know sometimes I've actually heard people say, well, worried about a focus on food or if people have food issues. And I'm like, it comes from this just loving, like, no issues are really allowed about food. It's just a thing that you eat and you enjoy and it's good for you. And there's no kind of drama about it. And so it's very intentional. So it's of course good that you like the food, and that's very intentional on my part as part of the experience, because what I've learned through all of the work that I do in Pause and Presence is it isn't like, if you just make it about the coaching, you're just in there like fixing your brain, and it becomes this sort of exercise that involves willpower and involves just more work and more fixing and potentially thoughts about what's wrong with me and why haven't I been able to do this yet. And when you infuse the mindfulness and you infuse that calm and you infuse like care for your nervous system, then all of a sudden things just tend to shift and people have epiphanies that they didn't have before about their situation or how they want to move forward in their life. Or maybe it's a tricky relationship or a tricky job or a medical diagnosis or things like that, things they've been struggling with for a long time. Did you find that that kind of immersive bit of it was really helpful?
Absolutely. I was just looking at my notebook where I kept little leaves of the different wild plants that we were introduced to and what their benefits are. So there was a whole other interesting angle to nourishment about, what kind of what's right in front of us, and like just learning how good it is to make sun tea and comparing the sun tea to the regular boiled tea. And I'm a fan. It was wonderful. I can't recommend it highly enough. And I think it was also pretty cool because I have a friend through my pathology moms group, and I'd never met her in person. But when I mentioned that I was, there's this really cool retreat, check it out. And she couldn't go to the Mindful Healers Connect in Nature. And she said, I'm going to come out for Sagrada. So we drove together. I picked her up at the airport. Again, I'd be happy to drive anybody. So we were roommates, and it was just delightful. And she's an amazing photographer too. We learned a little, some tricks that she taught us about how to take awesome pictures.
Yeah. And again, I think that's one of the things about retreats that's really special is the other people you share the space with and the friendships that you make. And yes, we have this beauty of this sort of online friendships, but when you meet people in person, that connection is just that much more deep and nourishing and healing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think we do have this sense of caring for one another afterwards. And I mentioned to you that, I reached out to you about the podcast, but I also felt like, and I'm very intuition based, like I need to check in with Liz and see how she's doing. And so I think we do create, like when you go through experiences like that with people, we create these connections that are really healing and nourishing and needed. And so we have this sense when someone needs a check-in that and can follow through on that. And I think that comes from really the in-person, spending time with people in a space where there's not a lot of other things going on. And so one of the things that I think is really different about these retreats is the size. Even the, Connect in Nature and Pie Ranch are bigger than say the Sagrada, which is only 7 people, and those are 20, but still the small size really creates those intimate human connections that we don't get that often in a CME experience. And we don't get that often even in our sort of work in our medical spaces and our doctor groups. There tends to be a lot more people and a lot more noise. And did that feel true for you also?
Oh, absolutely. Everything falls away, and we can just be present without all that noise. It's just so much fun to meet all these cool people, these cool like-minded people. And I just want to say the magic of you, Jesse, is that you do connect and you do feel people, like even at a distance. Like you were saying, like I invited you to be on the podcast because I hadn't seen you doing anything on Facebook for a while. I was a little worried about you, and you're right on. You feel me, and
yeah.
And I think that's part of your magic, is that you are just one of these intuitive healers, if you will, who just is able to see straight to somebody's soul and to see what that soul needs. And yeah, no, you're a gift. You're a gift to all of us. I'm just really, really grateful that we crossed paths and that you came to my invitation to meet people at the Alpine Inn in Portola Valley. When you signed up, I had just done your lighthouse yoga class. Like I wanted to just do something different that day. And I just kind of stumbled on that yoga class, and I'd done that class. And then you said, "Hey, I want to come to this thing that you're organizing." And it was just kind of this magical connection at just the synchronicity at the same time. I don't know. It's just,
so this is so interesting.
yeah.
And it actually comes to mind about the whole retreat question, because I came to that kind of on a whim. I just was in this moment of time where I really felt like I needed connection with people. And we'd been in COVID for a while, and it was outdoors, and it wasn't that far from me, and it wasn't that many people. So it was a meal outside where had been connected in another space. And I thought, I'd like to meet some of these people in person, and they're by me, and it's outside. And I love that, the Alpine Inn also. And so it was very, on my end, serendipitous. And I was like, I'm just going to go. It'll just be fun. And then at the end of that, you said, I'm just going to come to my ranch. It'll be fun. Again, in this very, not well thought out way. And I mean that with love, right? Just like it just felt right. And then I think the same thing happened with your next decision, and the same thing happened with your next decision. And I see that a lot with people who come to the retreats. They're like, it just felt right. I just looked at the pictures and I just knew that I would enjoy it. Or, I've heard a lot of people say they've heard me on the podcast, or they've done yoga with me, or they've done coaching with me. And so they're just like, I just, felt like I should come. And I encourage people to just listen to themselves. That's actually something that we do a lot of at the retreat, is learning to listen to yourself and get out of the what you should want to do, or the shoulds, and get into what you want to do and what would feel good, and living a life that actually feels good. I think so many of us are trained to not listen to that. And it's something that I have been working on for the last 6 years, is to just listen, hand to heart. What is it that I really want to do? What will I enjoy? And not from a indulgent place per se, but that when we do things we enjoy, we bring so much more to the world, and we get so much out of them, and you never know what it will lead to next. I mean, that's what it kind of feels like. You just don't know what's next, and you don't know the connections and the friendships. And you and I have now met multiple times in person, and then you introduced me to this other pathologist who came, and now she and I are connected. And so there's all of this sort of beautiful web of connection and really love that can come from it. And so I know a lot of people think love is woo, but love is one of my superpower questions, right? What would love do? And so
I love that. I was just thinking of that. What would love do?
Love would go show up when you feel called or inspired to show up. And I think you did that, and 3 times, and it was pretty magical.
Yeah, absolutely. Transformational. Good stuff.
One of the things that I was just really honored by, and also inspired by, because you pushed me a little out of my regular zone, because if someone was coming again, I had to offer all new content, right? And I mean, a little bit of what you practice grows, but I had to present things in different ways each time. And so that also showed me that, there's different ways to do this work and different ways to introduce it. And where can people keep learning, even if they've heard some of these things before? And so it got me to stretch and grow and know that I actually have people coming back to Sagrada for a second time. And I know that the content can be totally different and totally valuable, because there's so much there, right? There's layers. It's like peeling that layer of an onion, but you challenged me to do that. And I'm also challenging myself here. And I always like to be transparent on the podcast, to let in the compliment and let in the kind words, because I used to, and still have a little bit of the habit of deflecting the compliment, and sort of, and so many of us do. And so that is a practice of letting it in and appreciating it. So I am doing that with much gratitude and hand to heart for both of us, and for the delightful experience and connection that these retreats have led to. So I think that's the perfect spot for us to end our conversation. There will also be a mindful moment at the end of this episode dedicated to Liz. So stay on. It will be a surprise. Stay on after the sound of the singing bowl for that special mindful moment. And thank you so much, Liz, for joining me. Do you want to give people information about how to join your Mind Surfer group and what you're about?
My mission is to normalize conversations about mental health among physicians. I know that, in the past there's been this, unnecessary, I don't like the word stigma, but and so I really want to create a community where people can connect and also my other mission is to try to share actionable tips like signing up for Jesse's retreats or, hand to heart or, just, yeah. So you'd have to email me because it is a private group, or you can find me on Facebook. Like just friend me on Facebook and let me know. You can DM me. I'm Liz Treynor. I'm the only one who spells my name Treynor.
Beautiful.
And yeah,
it's a lovely group. And I should also say at the end, so if you want to join me for this potent medicine and a recipe for joy, for any of their retreats, the Pie Ranch honoring Diastole, the Connect in Nature at the Green Gulch Zen Center or at Sagrada, you can find them on my website on the retreat tab, and the links will be in the show notes. So I hope to retreat with you again, Liz, and with any of our listeners who want to join us for some fun and play and hand to heart and delicious food and nourishment and transforming and all of the good stuff and yoga and smiles and laughter in nature. We would love to have you join us this summer, this year, anytime in 2023.
As always, if you want to declutter your mind, be more present, and start truly living your one wild and precious life, come find us at the mindfulhealerspodcast.com.
Work with one of us.
Work with both of us.
Start or uplevel your mindfulness practice.
Discover how mindful coaching can change your life.
Or even better, do both as part of our Mindful Healers programs and retreats. You can find links to find out more about our programs and join our communities at themindfulhealerspodcast.com.
Reach out and get started on your journey to a life better lived today.
The content of this podcast is not meant to be medical or life advice. If you choose to participate in our mindful moments, please do so safely.
Welcome to today's mindful moment. Taking a moment to bring your mind and body into the same place, to pause and to breathe. Wherever you are, take in an inhale through your nose, enjoying the cool breath, letting it go all the way into your lungs. And an exhale, let it out. And another inhale through your nose, pausing and breathing. Then exhale, letting things go. This practice will be a short micro respite from your day. Considering as you practice how it might feel to have a longer respite, whether it be a day at Pie Ranch in the sunshine, or a long weekend in Green Gulch in the trees and at the beach, or a whole week at Sagrada to decompress and take respite and heal and replenish and grow. Taking in another inhale through your nose and an exhale, a reminder that your breath is always available to you. Bring a hand to heart and another hand to top, starting with the hand to heart practice mentioned multiple times in today's episode. Press the heel of your hand into the heart space, sending yourself good wishes. And notice the palm or surface of the top hand on the dorsum of the bottom hand, taking in an inhale right into that pocket behind your heart. And a huge exhale, let it out. Another inhale in through your nose.
And an exhale out through your mouth. A moment to pause and be, to notice how you feel. And now an invitation to drop your hands and shrug your shoulders all the way up to your ears as high as you can. Tilt your neck back, press your occiput right into the shoulders, and enjoy all of the sensations. Squeezing tight, 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 enjoying the release, tight, 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 all the sensations, letting them in. Let go of any resistance as you bring the shoulders as high as you can. Exhale, lower them down, and enjoy for a moment. Gifting yourself a chance to enjoy and time to enjoy, something we rarely do. Permission to take good care of you. Once again, take in an inhale, shrug your shoulders all the way up to your ears, and rest your occiput in the cradle of the shoulders. Lower them down and enjoy. Taking in an inhale once again in through your nose and out through your mouth. Draw your shoulder blades back, pinch your scapula together. Enjoy that release all the way back. Scapula, pinch, 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 pinch. Exhale, release, and lower your hands. Notice how it feels. Once again, pinch your shoulder blades together, shoulders drawn down and back. Enjoy all the sensations. Pinch, pinch, pinch. Exhale, release, pause, and enjoy. Allow your palms to open towards the front, hands relaxed, wiggle your fingers. Let the tingles and the good feelings spread all around. Noticing what feels different already. If you are in a safe spot, drop your chin to your chest and enjoy the release in the back of the neck. Relax, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Another huge inhale in through your nose. And exhale, release, letting go of the neck, letting go of the pinch, breathing, enjoying. Bring your chin back to shoulder height and just notice how you feel. Wiggle those fingers once again. Bring your hand back to heart and the other hand to top and pause. Send yourself good wishes once more here. Taking in an inhale in through your nose and an exhale out through your mouth. Enjoy. And a moment to pause once again. To pause and enjoy. To seal in those tiny moments of release. Another long, smooth inhale, the breath always being available to you, shifting energy, allowing space and relaxation in. Exhale, release. Bring your hands together at heart center, rub your palms together, thumbs connect into the sternum, finger pads reach towards the sky. Setting an intention, perhaps, to gift yourself some time and space for respite, for retreat, to learn a few small micro movements that you can bring back with you into your day and into your life. Actionable tools, as Liz mentioned today in the episode. Shrugging your shoulders, pinching your shoulder blades, connecting with the breath, wiggling your fingers, all small actionable tools. When you join me for a retreat, you learn so many different tools, a whole toolbox of choices of things that feel amazing to you. Set an intention to show up somewhere, somehow, learn a few more tools and practice them. What you practice grows. We practice treating your body, your mind, your spirit, and your soul to feeling good. Amazing things happen. Take in an inhale through your nose. And a huge long exhale, let it out. May you all be well. May you all feel good. May you all practice taking amazing care of yourselves. And may we all connect in nature, meet at Pie Ranch, share a meal, and the farm and yoga and writing together. And best of all, may we all in the future someday spend time together on a mountaintop, bathing in the golden light, enjoying delicious, nourishing food, nurturing our hearts, our minds, our spirits, and our souls together. And a reminder that that is not indulgent, it's responsible. It's taking good care of you so that you can bring the best version of yourself back out into the world. Taking in one more beautiful, deep, nourishing, cleansing breath. And an exhale, release. Lower your hands, open your eyes, and let the light in. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I hope to have the opportunity to practice with you in person, somewhere beautiful, in nature, in the future. Have a beautiful day.